Hello and welcome to the top 10 grammar mistakes which do in fact make you look like an idiot. I don't say this lightly, but if you present yourself in a way that appears uneducated, guess what? People will assume you are uneducated and they will think that's because you are an idiot. Let's find out how to cure this perception. Coming in at number 1 is the recent confusion about the difference between less and fewer. Less is used for things which cannot be counted, and fewer is used for things which, if you were of the mind to count them, you could count. There are less clouds in the sky today. Well, this would be wrong, because if you wanted to go outside and count the clouds, weird as that would be, it would be possible to do, and therefore you have to say there are fewer clouds in the sky today because you could count them. Now, what happens when you say the sky is less cloudy than yesterday? Well, cloudy is not something that you can count, and therefore less is correct. And you'd spot that because you would never say the sky is fewer cloudy than yesterday. It would just sound wrong. There is less hunger in the world. Again, you can't count hunger, and therefore you can't say there is fewer hunger in the world. Okay, now try with these two examples. There are fewer hungry people in the world, or there are less hungry people in the world. Now it's more difficult for you to decide, so the solution is, are hungry people theoretically countable? Yes, I could spend a few years going out to count them if I so wished. Well, then if they are countable, it must be fewer and not less. So Netflix has fewer rivers than Amazon because you can count rivers. Hope you enjoyed the dad joke. Pooh ate less honey than usual because honey is not countable. But honey ate fewer poos than piglets. I don't know why somebody called Honey has suddenly entered into this story, but there you are. Eating piglets is probably tastier than poos. So you can't count honey, but you can count poos and piglets, which is why there are fewer poos and piglets rather than less. Although I am less happy than I used to be, there are few people happier than I am. Why is it less happy? Because happiness is not countable, and there are few people happier than I am because people and happy people are countable, so it must be few. Grapes are less purple than Thanos, though he has fewer pips, because although you can count grapes and pips, you can't count purple. So this can't be less pips, it must be fewer. Coming in at number 2, good and well. Good is an adjective describing the quality of goodness, whereas well is an adverb describing the verb to be and a state of well-being. Let's see what this means. If somebody asks you, how are you? And you reply, I am good, this means that you are a good person who does good things. However, if you reply, I am well, this means that you are feeling good because am is the way we conjugate the verb to be. It's difficult to see this because we don't actually say, I be well. But that's what we mean when we say I am well. It's the verb to be, and therefore this is an adverb describing our wellness, our well-being. Now, if somebody asks you how was your day, you can't say my day was well, because my day does not feel any kind of well-being, so you would have to say my day was good, even though was is a conjugation of the verb to be. Was and were are often confused because many people live in an area where the dialect is to use was all the time. Unfortunately, employers and other educated people judge you by your ability to switch from the dialect of your location to standard English, which is the social norm you're expected to use in all formal settings. So the grammatical rule is super simple. I, he, she and it are all followed by was. They, we and you are always followed by were. So we can't say they was sunbathing in the garden because that breaks the grammatical rule of standard English. We can't say we was playing football in the park or even on Jupiter or Mars, because that breaks the formal rule. We must be followed by were. And we can't say you was in the kitchen, because you is always followed by were. Now, I don't want to diss your dialect. You can go around saying they was, we was, and you was if you want, but people who do not speak your dialect will think you are an idiot. And seeing as these people will have influence and power over you as your employers or educators or potential love mates, it's a good habit to lose. Next, we have the Grocer's Apostrophe, and it's called the Grocer's Apostrophe because historically grocers would put their prices up on blackboards outside their shops and would usually get this particular rule completely wrong. And the rule is not that wherever you see a word ending in S that you put an apostrophe on it. You only use that apostrophe to show an owner. So you'd get things like this: buy my potatoes, taste these strawberries, bananas 50p per kilo. Well, those apostrophes are all wrong because those fruits and vegetables do not own anything. They don't need an apostrophe. But you might think, I never make that mistake. Well, I bet you make this one. I'm taking 10 GCSEs. We do not need the apostrophe there because the GCSEs don't own anything here. And the students are working hard. Well, the students don't own anything and the apostrophe is redundant. It would take a separate video to teach you about the correct use of apostrophes, so I won't do it here. Or you can try my $5.99 bargain, everything you need to know about punctuation, spelling and grammar, only $5.99 with better jokes than the nearest rival, which is $8.99. OMG. Let's have a look at some entertaining examples. Fish, not just for Fridays. Well, Fridays doesn't own anything here, no apostrophe needed. HGVs, no left turn ahead. Well, these HGVs don't own anything either, and therefore no apostrophe needed. Dunkin' Donuts, these donuts don't own anything, so no apostrophe is needed. However, you might have noticed the missing G on dunking, and so if you wanted to be grammatically correct, you would use the apostrophe of omission to show the missing G. Teas, coffees and snacks, open. Are they really open? That's a very strange thing for teas, coffees and snacks to do, but stranger still, they don't own anything here, so no apostrophes are needed. I hope this isn't a real one. I'm not a bad boy. Look, correct use of the apostrophe for missing the A in am of I am. I've just made bad. Oh, there's the apostrophe. Correct again. Choices in my life. Choices don't own anything here, and therefore no apostrophe is needed. That has to be a spoof tattoo, but I love it anyway. It is incredibly common for people to mix up your and your. So what you need to remember is that your means belonging to you, and your with the apostrophe is the contraction of you are. And how to remember this? Well, your meaning belonging has the word our in it. So obviously that's going to be that spelling of your. Whereas you are comes out as your. You can see that it's the A that's missing, and that's where the apostrophe goes to show where the A is missing. So this ought to be impossible to get wrong. Your nose runs and your feet smell. You're made upside down. So that is the one that means you are, and therefore the apostrophe RE occurs. You're the reason everyone has died, she complimented the hairdresser. Here, your means you are, so we have apostrophe RE. You're the best thing since sliced bread, said the butter to the Marmite jar. Again, you are has been shortened to your, so apostrophe RE. Your face is like a painting, flat and covered in something unnatural. Here we're not saying you are face, it's your face, the face that belongs to you, so it has our in it, and it's that spelling of your. Here we have another really common mistake. You might think it's a spelling mistake whether to use there or there, but it isn't really because it's understanding what there and there means. Because there means belonging, it has heir in it, someone who's about to inherit something, something that belongs to them. And there, with THERE, means a place, which is why it has the word here in it. So those two clues should mean you never make this mistake. Of course, this might confuse you if you don't know what an heir is, so here is my example. My children are the heirs to my YouTube empire. I like to keep it small so they aren't just waiting around for me to die. Or Prince Charles is Queen Elizabeth's heir, and that's why he says hello when he means oh hello. Let's try some examples. The students locked their English teacher in the cupboard with the lion and the witch. The English teacher in this sentence belongs to them, and therefore it's the spelling with heir. The soldiers shot their rifles, which was a mistake, as they couldn't be used after that, and pistols became their only weapons. These are the rifles and the pistols that belong to them, which is why the spelling is heir. The people of Swindon are proud of their transport links to the railway and the M4 because it is a great place to live. These transport links and the M4 within the sentence, not by law, belong to Swindon, so the spelling is heir in there. The tourists complained that the airline had lost their baggage, which was strange as their journey had been by train. Again, the baggage and the journey in the grammar of the sentence belong to the tourists, which is why we have heir in there. There are no bears in this wood. The nudist wood is next door. There are bears there too, though, so hang on to your grizzlies. So there you go. There is always a place, so it has here in it. You're a bit late. Your dinner is over there. Yes, in the dog. And there is a place, even though you wouldn't say a dog is a place, but it is within the grammar of this sentence. And I hope you notice the different spellings of your, and you can tell me why. But don't, because I won't hear you. There must be a mistake. I'm not an ignoramus. I don't even know who Amos is. So obviously an idiot couldn't ignore him. There, here, you might say, well, that's not a real place. But there's got to be a mistake somewhere, so within the grammar of the sentence, there is a place, and so you would use here in your spelling of there. Sergeant, pointing at a soldier on parade. There is a giant turd at the end of this stick. Soldier, not at my end, sir. I do love that joke, which is probably the only reason I could possibly have for joining the army. Anyway, there is a place in this case, and therefore here is in the spelling of there. Now, a particularly damaging mistake is to confuse the spelling of with the grammatical substitute apostrophe VE. We might say, I must have told you 100 times, but what we mean is, I must have told you 100 times, and so we must spell it like this. I must have told you 100 times. So the H and the A are missing from the word have to form apostrophe VE, which we pronounce of. I must have told you. And the same applies to could have when we mean could have, which we reduce to could have. You could have told me. And so of makes you look like a fool, and of makes you seem like a genius. And the other common way of getting this wrong is when it comes after the word should. They should have checked the map. They could have checked the map is what we mean. And so the correct spelling is they should have checked the map. Here is one that a surprising number of the population get wrong. Even teachers, check your reports if you want to see what I mean. Practice with a C is the noun, whereas practice with the S is the verb. Now, the easiest way to remember this is to think of the words advice, that's the noun because it has the C in it, and advise, that's the verb because it has the S in it. Now, because we pronounce advice and advise differently, these are the go-to ones to think about if you're ever confused about which is the verb and which is the noun. You need to practice snowboarding in order to cope with the steeper slopes on the mountain. Practice here is the verb, so we must use the S. She practiced on the guitar every day, though learning on a snowboard would have been the better choice. Again, practiced is the verb, so it uses the S. When you practice, you improve, advised the teacher. And practice makes you better at everything, except gambling. So here you can see my use of the word advised there helps me remember that practice here is a verb, you practice, and therefore needs the S, but the thing itself, the noun, is called practice, which therefore has a C. Again, this effect and affect is a mistake that probably 50% of adults still make. The thing to remember is that affect is the verb and effect is the noun. There is only one exception to this, but if you know that exception, you can already do affect and effect, so I won't confuse you here. But 99% of times, it is a noun. Let's see it in action. Eating ice cream out of a tub will affect your weight. It's going to do something to your weight, therefore it's a verb, and affect is the correct word. The effect of eating tubs of ice cream is to make you tubby. And because effect is a noun, you know it's a noun because it's got the word the in front of it. The spelling is effect, not affect. The effect of the infinity stone is to kill 50% of the population. Here you remember that effect is a noun, it's got the word the in front of it for starters, and it's not doing anything, so it's not a verb. Ant-Man is affected by the quantum realm, but no one really understands how. So this is something that's being done to Ant-Man, therefore it's a verb, and therefore the spelling is affected, not effected. And let me entertain you with a few more real-life examples. Smile, you're on camera. Sometimes you're the dog, sometimes you're the hydrant. Many people ask me, what is the secret of my 30-year marriage? And I say, well, we both love grammar. Haircuts and shaving, you're nuts not to come in. Well, there's an instruction for you, and obviously discriminates against men and squirrels. Now, if you'd like to learn more, and why wouldn't you, check out one of the videos appearing on the screen now, or buy the guide.